Hey guys, Mike back here for part 3 of our Let's Play X-Kaliber. I'm going to continue this session here and hopefully figure out how to go up these stairs here. Apparently I'm struggling, I don't really know. There we go. As I mentioned before, a lot of these commentary I'm going to try to talk about what I think about the gaming industry going on today and some of the major changes I think that need to occur. I don't know how I didn't die from that hit, but hey, let's not get too upset by that. I think that unfortunately a lot of today's games don't seem to have the same sort of difficulty as games that I grew up with, and I know a lot of people grew up with. See right there, just died. Hopefully Game Over lets you actually continue. I'm not really too sure how that works. I guess I just go to continue just like that and just picks you up at the beginning of stage 2. That's fantastic. Anyway, like if this was a more modern day game, you'd be checkpoints all over the place and it'd be just not really that fun. As I mentioned before in my last video, I was talking a little bit about the new Batman that came out recently. You know, and ever since I was growing up, the only Batman I really grew up playing was the Nintendo version, the original, and that game was just so incredibly difficult that it would just take you and a few of your friends and, you know, back then a whole bunch of, I guess it'd be Diet Coke that I used to drink growing up. Now it's more beer to at least defeat the first few levels of Batman. I remember just being so frustrated with that game and the original Dragon Warrior. Actually, as I mentioned, I loved RPGs growing up, and I remember when I got my first subscription of Nintendo Power. For some reason they ran some deal, and I think it was with Nintendo Power, where you got like Dragon Warrior with Nintendo Power, and it came with like this cheat sheet and had all the spells and things like that. It was just really cool and kind of just brought me into the light of what RPGs really were. This was before, I think it was before the Final Fantasy series really got big. I could be mistaken about that, and someone can feel free to correct me. But as far as I remember, Dragon Warrior was really kind of just the basis of where a lot of the major today's RPGs came out, was the idea of like leveling up and then improving your skills, things like that, originating from the Dragon Warrior series. If you haven't played the first Dragon Warrior on Nintendo, I would highly recommend trying to get a copy. It's really great that, you know, your spells aren't like fireball and lightning. It's simply hurt and heal, and hurt more and heal more, I believe is what they were called. And just kind of funny compared to like the graphics of today, especially when you look at like Final Fantasy, when you have all these crazy looking summons. And don't get me wrong, I love the new Final Fantasy series and like where they've taken the actual genre in terms of replayability and difficulty and things like that. But sometimes, you know, putting in an old role-playing game like Chrono Trigger, things like that, just kind of brings back the nostalgic of it. I saw recently today, actually, I don't know if it's new news or brand new or anything like that, that they're going to be re-releasing the God of War series on PlayStation 3 in the form of Blu-ray. I'm pretty pumped about that because I love God of War. I think it's one of the better series out there. Difficulty seems just about right. I think this is a boss of some kind, by the way, and I much more prefer this type of boss rather than the other one. Maybe not, this is way too easy compared to the other boss, but we'll see. Anyway, the God of War series I thought was done almost perfectly. It really embodied what old sort of platformers were supposed to be like. It incorporated that new sense of gore that people seem to become obsessed with nowadays. Again, I'm not a proponent against or for the gore quality or anything like that, but I do remember when the original Mortal Kombat came out in arcades, and there was literally just lines of people putting quarters on the machines, which, by the way, I guess people don't do anymore. I haven't been to an arcade in forever. I don't even know if they exist anymore, but I remember going to the mall with my folks, actually, and the only reason they would actually get me there would be if I was allowed to go to the arcade and try out some of the new games. I guess now most arcades are, you know, for DDR and things like that. I'm really not a huge fan of the DDR type games or any of the rhythm-based games. I mean, I have Guitar Hero, but it doesn't really do much. Apparently, someone's shooting gas cans here at me. That's kind of a cool fact. More prefer games that I would consider skill. I got lucky there. I had no idea you had to break that open. I probably should have died. But I can understand the skill from Guitar Hero. Hold on one second here. Halt, your worthless sack of flesh. Your journey ends here. How do you figure? Because I'm going to shred you. Well, that's pretty classic. You know, a guy named Chainsaw. No one in this city has manners. Come here, I'll teach you a few. I am going to go ahead and use a save state here, guys. I don't feel like replaying the first 2 levels and knowing how difficult these bosses really are. It just, okay, yeah, see, very happy about that. It just doesn't really seem worth it to me to replay that, and I don't think people really want to see me replay the bosses all over again. Okay, I don't know if I'm taking damage from blocking. It doesn't look like it. I'm trying to get close to this guy here, but he keeps spamming and stuff. Oh, there you go. There's a Terminator reference for you. Man. See, you don't get this type of quality anymore, I guess, with games. I don't feel, at least. Uh-oh, can I get into a corner? Uh-oh. Now he's jumping. I don't like how he's changed his pattern all of a sudden. Before, as I mentioned before, the God of War series, I think, is near perfect. It has the right difficulty, the right... What the... Oh, I guess I killed him. Hey, there you go. That was much better. Second time's a charm, I guess, in terms of this game. That boss was much easier than the first one. Took a look at the first video. Chainsaw, tilt, program over. Another morph. Where does Raptor get that kind of know-how? Tilt. I guess he's a pinball machine. Doesn't really make it much sense. A pinball machine wielding a chainsaw. Anyway, back to the God of War thing. I just love the game. I'm really psyched for the new God of War 3. I think it's probably the game I'm excited about most besides the new Call of Duty. I think the difficulty's right. Everything just seems to be strong about the series. I think it's got a lot of legs. I did read online a little bit ago that they're thinking about turning it into a movie. I would love a good video game movie to actually come out and legitimize that, because I think a lot of the video games have great stories, and I think that people like, who made it all? U-Bowl, wasn't that the guy who everyone hates and does a lot of the video game movies and just ruins them for everybody? I think that he is an utter disaster towards the industry and should be dragged out somewhere and taken care of. A lot of the movies that he claims he makes for the gamers or wherever else are just pitiful. They're just terrible. I mean, I think I saw that, what was it, didn't he do Dungeon Siege or something like that with Jason Statham? That movie was just awful. I'm a big fan of his too, and I can't believe he actually, hopefully he didn't read that script. Hopefully he just signed it and his agent told him it was going to be a big hit, because if he read that script and still did that movie, then I don't know how I really feel about that. There seems to be some sort of teleporting boss here. We'll see how this goes. There's some sort of alien or robot, I don't know. Doesn't seem to be too strong. Oh, whoa, what is that? You know what? I love that there's a block feature in this game. I think blocking adds a lot, especially towards these games, adds a different level of strategy to it. Don't really like the kickback on it, though. It's kind of ridiculous. Uh-oh. Well, I'm dead. Let's give this another shot here. See, again, comparing the difficulty of old games versus new games. A new game would have had you respawn right there. It wouldn't have been that difficult. And that would have been that. This one, I think, is restarting me all the way back at the beginning of the stage, which is a little more akin to how I remember growing up and playing the original Mario. I doubt they even had checkpoints in the original Mario. I think I could be misspeaking here, and again, someone can feel free to correct me. But I'm pretty sure the original Mario had no checkpoints whatsoever, except when you beat the level. And again, there wasn't an obscene amount of continues, no saving, no save states, no save file. It was just, you know, you and your friends would get together and try to beat Mario as far as you can go. And that was that. Come here, guy. Where you going? There you go. I don't know. I'm just, especially with the advent of like the Wii and things like that, I gotta tell you that when my folks got a Wii, I knew that was bad news for the Nintendo industry or the gaming industry as a whole. Whenever your parents start to look at video games and talk about how, you know, they're changing the industry and things like that, it makes me a little bit nervous, considering that most of the Nintendo games that came out for the Wii are party games. I think I can count on one hand the ones that I consider good. But again, that's just my personal opinion. I mean, Zelda was a decent game, but there really isn't any other ones I see out there. Alright, just before this boss fight, I'm going to go ahead and pause it and wrap up the video here, guys. Thanks a lot for watching again. We're going to continue with part 4 here pretty quickly. Any questions, comments, things like that, leave them in the video, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot.